Hello, everyone. This is Brother Benson Media, and I'm glad to have our guest of today, Honorable Abbey from Kisumu County. Habari ya Mwesh.
Salama sana.
Siku yako imekuwa aje?
Siku yangu imekuwa mzuri.
Okay.
Tunashukuru Mungu. Uh,
Na ulipata nafasi ya kusherekea siku ya leo?
Personally sikuenda, but sikuenda, I've not been feeling well sikuenda, but I believe watu walienda. But you know now where the country currently is, hakuna motisha. There's nothing to excite you to want to take you there.
Yeah, because I was looking, and I just want to give you a pic because like I was following up. If you look at where the main celebration was, Uhuru Gardens, there was low turnout, and there's also when you look at Embu, there was at Embu where the governor was, and the one that caught my attention was in Nyandarua when they wanted to read the speech for the president. The people went out. As a leader, when you see incidences like this, what comes to your mind as a leader?
As a leader, I think what comes to my mind is that the president is not in touch with the reality. That is the reality of the Kenyan people. Nimeona he has been throwing a lot of tantrums and even calling Kenyans out of their names. But to me, I feel like, when President Ruto became president, we used to call a populist politicians. He used to say things that were not necessarily practical, but they would excite would-be voters or other struggling Kenyans. So it's like he sold a dream for the Kenyan people. But when the time came to deliver that dream, he has been delivering nightmares. And I think because perhaps he's not in touch with the reality, or rather the reality of the Kenyan people, he's unable to realize that what he promised and what he's delivering are two different things. So hakuna motisha, hakuna moral.
moral imeisha kwa Kenya.
You cannot go and ukae kwa stadium and you don't even know utakula nini. You don't know whether you are a child who just got a university entry atawai kupata help because there's a new system. The country is literally in disarray. By the way, so that wasiseme that I'm doing something opposite with what I'm supposed to do. What I want us to discuss today, I want us to discuss it from a good place.
Yeah.
I want the discussions to come from a good place. Let it be something called constructive criticism, because I realize the president has been throwing a lot of tantrums. Anasema nyinyi ni washenzi, you are stupid if you don't agree with the vaccination ya ng'ombe, and he's ni mtu mwenye akona temper, so we are very afraid, and he's a big guy. So this is a constructive criticism. We want to tell him how we feel. He still has 2 years to do the right thing, so that when we get to 2027, we will have a reason to do whatever our party leader shall have said, that this is the way.
Okay, thank you, and that's okay, and that's why we want to discuss the real issues. And when we are looking at the real issues, just picking it from today, because if you reflect, especially when it comes to Jamhuri days when it was, we could see immediately after celebration, people would go to Huru Park. Immediately after celebration, nobody would go to work because it was a day that people are really celebrating. But if you do a map check today, there are so many people who are working. The turnout was very low, and those protests that we are seeing when the president's speech was about to be read, especially in other counties. Can president really sit back and reflect and say, okay, there's something that is wrong somewhere, and how can I start? And know the president who he is. Do you think he can take that step?
Perhaps if sometimes you can have a Damascus moment where you sit down and ask yourself that, okay, I don't know what kind of a person President Ruto is. When he was campaigning, And but I was on Baba's side. I will always be on Baba's side. He appeared very empathetic, very down to earth. He appeared like somebody who values humility. You know, his approach, the hustlers versus dynasties. So this person that he has become when he got elected could be is not the same person that he used to be when he was campaigning. And like I said again, I personally do not have a personal problem with President Ruto.
Yeah.
I'm just talking as a Kenyan who's also feeling the pinch of bad governance and misplaced priorities. So if you give people hope, you know what literally made Ruto president, Brother Benson,
Yeah.
was the things that were coming out of his mouth. Ruto talked about bad governance that was enriching the dynasties and impoverishing the hustlers. You remember?
Yeah.
Ruto talked about a government that would be people-centered, a government that would, that laws or rather anything that would be done would be pro-people, watu wa chini, kina mama mboga, watu wa bodaboda, nyinyi watu wa mjiwezi, nyinyi wenye hamuna pesa, you know? So that is why most people, most hustlers felt that this is our guy. And even if you look at the issue with the Gen Z, I've watched in I don't know the right term. I've watched in horror when the president is throwing tantrums, he's calling people out of their names. Nyinyi ni washenzi, you're silly, you're stupid. And I'm telling myself, you know, the Gen Z issue is not a new thing. You know, when there was the first liberation, the second liberation movement, Yakina Baba, the Gen Zs, only that during that time they were not being called the Gen Zs, they were called the youths. And if you look at Nairobi University students participated in challenging Moi's tyrannical rule. Nadanganya?
True.
And I'm asking, am I lying? One of them is Wafula Buke. You go and check Wafula Buke online. He was a university student when Kinababa were fighting for multipartyism. So when Ruto does not see, if he cannot ask himself why all of a sudden our youths are riled up, they want to go to mandamanos, they want him to go, they don't like him, he should just sit down and ask himself, what am I doing wrong? Because youths challenging the government is not a new concept. Youths have been active in this country. Youths were university students who were active during the second liberation movement. And actually, Ruto is whatever problem is having with the Gen Z is a problem of his own creation. You remember the second interview I had with you?
Yeah.
I was talking to you about Mutai Nguni, and I told you that Mutai Nguni and this propaganda, in my opinion, is one of the most dangerous people we have in this country, because he's the one who coined the hustlers versus dynasties that Ruto came and ran with during his campaigns. And who are the hustlers? They were the Gen Z, the university students that have graduated but don't have jobs. The people who think that sisi ni watu wa bodaboda, sisi ni watu wa mboga. Huh? And those are the people that Ruto sold a dream to, but is now unable to deliver that dream. He's delivering nightmares. So for me, I feel that if Ruto is a honest person, and maybe perhaps he's a human being like me and you, and he's not sure why things that are happening, I want to give him an advice. And I'm not a small person in front of him, but I want to talk as a common Kenyan. Personally, I no longer have a problem with President Ruto. He's championing our party leaders, AU chairmanship, which I'm very grateful for. But if we are going to support the president as ODM or as Baba's followers, we have to tell the president the truth. And the truth is, the things you said when you are campaigning, you radicalized our youths. You are the ones who radicalized Gen Zs. When you are calling them hustlers, when you brought in the haves and the have-nots narratives, the hustler versus dynasty, when you kept telling them this government itakuwa serikali ya mama mboga, itakuwa serikali ya watu wa chini, then you bring in a government and it's like people, we came from the frying pan with President Huru and went directly to the fire with President Ruto. So this is coming from a good place. I don't want to die. This is coming from a good place.
Okay. You've spoken about something that everybody has been talking about. You've talked about dynasty versus hustlers.
Hustlers.
Yes.
Yes.
when you look at dynasty versus hustlers, so many people have
Mm,
taken that interpretation to
mm,
narrative whereby they say the political class versus
mm.
us. And
Yes.
when you're now seeing what is happening in the political currently, we
Mm,
are seeing the return of Uhuru Ruto. At the same time,
yes.
we also saw
Mm,
Baba also was included in the broad-based government. Yeah.
mm, mm.
Don't you think this goes against his hustler versus dynasty because he has decided to bring all the dynasties, those who were told that they were dynasties on his side?
That's why I was telling you
Mm,
that the Ruto's biggest undoing
yeah.
was the things he's told Kenyans when he was seeking office and the things he's doing when he's in office. And another thing would be, Ruto, I don't know. I always believe that he's one of the smartest guys, has a PhD, I don't know whether he's just doesn't get it. All of it's like every time there's a problem, there's an economical problem, he solves it with a political solution. A classic example is right now, I think the mountain has left him. Instead of finding ways to bring back the faith of the people who literally made him president, what does he do? He goes and bring Uhuru to the government. I don't have a problem with President Uhuru. I like President Uhuru. I respect him as our immediate former president. But when you ignore the people, you know, when you ignore the people, you go and bring Uhuru with the same mouth. You are saying that hatutaki siasa ya ukabila, hatutaki siasa ya wadosi, but the disenfranchised masses, you are ignoring them. Unaenda kuleta mdosi wao ukifikiria that if I bring Uhuru on board because these are Kikuyus, now Kikuyus will be okay.
Mm,
And you know what? There's one thing about Kikuyus that I've always admired and also hated. I feel like they have the power to make our elections year in, year out. And there's something about them that is different from ours, those of us who follow Baba. Kikuyus also, they are not followers of anybody. They will support their guy, like they supported Uhuru in 2013 when we felt that they were not ready. They will support Ruto, like they supported Ruto, we stood with Baba. But they are not followers. You see, like me, I don't care what Baba does. My vote, hii moja ni Raila Odinga. He is my guy, no matter what happens.
But
But
Mure,
Kikuyus are not like that. Then you can't be their guy. Like Waiguru said, you can only rent them. But Ruto had their attention when they voted for Ruto. And they knew we are business people. We want to see changes in Mount Kenya. We want this overtaxation to go down. We want the cost of living to come down. But instead of Ruto addressing those issues, Ruto anaenda kuleta nani? Former president analeta kwa serikali. And these are the people that you're on top of cast every single day, telling people that these dynasties, they're the reason why your kids cannot get free education, they're the reasons why your educated university students are languishing in poverty, they can't get jobs. So where are you? Where are you progressive or you are regressive? Where are you?
yeah. So you,
You get the point.
I get
So,
the
and I want to tell you something, Brother Benson.
yeah.
And this one will haunt Ruto unless he changes. Things have changed. You remember last time when I was here, I was talking to you about new generational voters.
Yeah.
Things have changed, and it is not just in Kenya. It's not just in Africa. It's all over the world, even the US where you are. The world is changing. Young people are waking up. They are realizing that we have to be involved. We have to participate in governance. We have to have a voice on how we are being led, on who is doing ABCD. So that's why you are seeing the internet. But when that is happening, if I was President Ruto and I'm leading a country where the youths are so vibrant online, they're criticizing me, I'd seize them the opportunity. And instead of bringing out people like President Huru, who we should allow to enjoy his retirement, I would say, let me take advantage of that internet. I want to know, why are you upset? Talk to me, I'm your president. But instead, the president will say, you are doing this. And for the record, there's also something that the president keeps getting wrong.
Yeah.
Right now, the president have two types of critics. There are people like myself who do not have a personal problem with President Ruto. Then maybe there's also a small portion that maybe were Gachagua's followers who maybe feel bad that Gachagua was removed from power. But I can assure you, as somebody who is also loves social media, that majority of Kenyans are not losing sleep over Gachagua not being deputy president. I personally didn't like this, the Gachagua style of politics, because even if you ask me today that how do you remember Gachagua, I remember Gachagua as the one deputy president that we had that was always wailing with one community. He was always Mirima, Mulima, Mulima. I ask myself, are you the deputy president of Central Kenya, or you are the deputy president of Kenya? So
Okay.
most Kenyans don't care about Gachagua going home, because Gachagua refused to be a national leader. He wanted to be the kingpin of Mount Kenya. But not all Kenyans come from Mount Kenya. I don't come from Mount Kenya. Huh?
Let me
So when he wants to place everybody that has a problem with the style of leadership, kama watu wa Gachagua, then he misses the point. Majority of Kenyans, including the Kikuyu youths that are complaining online, Brother Benson,
yeah,
nobody cares. Gachagua is an individual.
yes.
We want good governance. Give me good governance. Stop overtaxing my sleep. I don't need to have somebody that speaks the language I speak. I just need good governance. Don't screw up the healthcare system. Don't tell me that a salary. Do you know the way salaried people are crying up in India?
I know. Let me before we come there, because before we come into the issue of the healthcare and all that, because as a leader, the issue of Gachagua is an issue that keep on popping every time we have a conversation in this country, based on the fact that he has been categorized as somebody who is tribal.
And I agree.
That is how he has been categorized. But when you look at the nature of our politics, the nature of politics, what Gachagua was trying to say, he was kind of speaking about the Mount Kenya, speaking for people, or he wanted to speak for the people of Mount Kenya, based on how the coalition was. So when I bring you to the coalition, on how the rewards of the coalition are, when you look at in our Kenya political system, when when the political parties come together to form coalition, what is the qualification that gives you the highest position is the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what gives you the number? If we are running for presidency and we are coming together to form a coalition, one of the things that maybe we will be looking at, say like, okay, who is going to be president? You are going to be the president because in your community or in your region you have 3 people, and in my region I have 2 people. So which means because you have 3, and if I add my 2, we are going to win the ticket. So that gives 5. Is that one not tribalism?
It is. Benson, our politics is deeply rooted in negative ethnicity. And if you look, you would think that the way time goes and we are getting enlightened and Kenyans are getting good education and exposure, that would now become a thing of the past. But unfortunately, the people that entrench tribal politics are not voters. They're not Kenyans like you and me. They are Kenyans that we trust with leadership, i.e., His Excellency President William Ruto, who realizes that there's a problem in central Kenya, but instead of finding ways to go to the people and tell the people that Gachagua had to go, which a majority of Kenyans agreed with him that the kind of politics Mheshimiwa Gachagua was playing was not national politics. Instead, he goes and does what? Bring out Huru and tell us now, there's a possibility of Uhuru's guys in former government coming to government and Uhuru's brother, I don't know, becoming deputy president. You are already playing tribal politics. And let me also tell you, Brother Benson, we are down bad. We have reached a place today in Kenya where we are losing our democracy, our democratic spaces that our great sons like Baba Raila Amolo Odinga fought for and paid blood and gut in Nyayo Tosha chambers. We are losing that democratic progress that we made, because today in this country, you don't know who is the opposition and who is the government. We have blurred that line.
Whose mistake is that?
tribal politics, where somebody like what the president did with our beloved immediate former president.
So who should be blamed for us for the political scenario to kill the opposition?
I don't want to say there's a specific person that should be blamed, but it is something that we have been doing. It has become a normality. It's like even if we go to elections in 2027, I could say that I know immediately after elections there will be a coalition of A, B, C, D, A, E, F. And I'm beginning to think we are a struggling country, that our GDP, what we are borrowing and what our GDP, like I feel like we are doing badly off, that perhaps we should skip the elections and just have a roundtable and say, oh, you are Mariam, you take this one, you take this one. Because why do we need to spend billions and emotions in elections when everyone will end up in government? To a point, the oversight line is blurred.
Okay, now, you know, because like we need to be very factual here. Um, for me, how I know on how our constitution is, we have the minority and the majority, which
Yes.
means the minority takes that opposition role, and that was being held by Opio and I, current CS for Energy. Right now, it is for Honorable Junet Mohammed is the person in charge of minority. So, which means, in essence, they're the only people who should keep the government on check when the government is doing wrong. President, if he's supposed to keep the government on check, but it's the same person who would come and say tulikuwa tunapinga lakini hatukujua, lakini saizi tunajua, and you find Kenyans who are saying, okay, hiyo yenye tulikuwa napinga, for instance, case like Adani, yeah, because he was as the Kwale the other day when they were with the president, was talking over Adani, yet Kenyans were saying that this is not right. So where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? As the because like ODM has been championing for social and democracy.
I think as ODM,
yeah,
we still have a long way to go, and like normal human beings, we also still have our weaknesses.
Yeah,
and I think because everybody is saying something, our leaders. So for me, I tend to try and lean towards what Baba is saying, and there's no single day that Baba has said that sisi tuko kwa serikali. That's why for me, even though I'm an ODM MCA, in my head, I know that my party leader has not said that we are in government. But I also appreciate the fact that he made Mheshimiwa Wandai to resign. He made, who was it again? Our people that were previously elected to resign. To resign before closing over. So I have been under the impression that yes, our people went to government because they're Kenyans. They have gone to the government. They're going to maybe inject much needed expertise, if I can use that word. But as a political party, as ODM, since our party leader has never opened his mouth that I know of and said that sisi watu ODM, sisi ni watu wa UDM. Baba was just here the other day talking to us about making sure that the party is strong, making sure that we remain true to the party's ideologies. So for me, I believe that wale wameenda ndio wako huko. But wale wenye wako resign, they are just overstepping their mandate. But sisi kama chama, our party leader has not pronounced himself openly and said, nyinyi mko kwa serikali. I understand that there will come a time before 2027 that parties will come up with coalition the same way ODM and Jubilee and Mheshimiwa Kalonzo's party formed Azimio. But until then, I feel that if we were to give the people of Kenya value for their money that we are earning, we need to draw a clear line between the opposition and the government. And let me tell you, Brother Benson, being in the opposition or criticizing the government does not mean that you are not a friend of the government. It means that you want the government to succeed, because where the president has reached with the Kenyans today, the reality on the ground that his people may not be telling, Kenyans are pissed. That is the truth. And they're not just somebody saying that Kenyans are unhappy because Gachagua was removed. That's a big fat lie. Nobody cares about Gachagua, who was only preaching about Mount Kenya. Maybe there are people from Mount Kenya who feel bad that Gachagua was part of the people who formed this government. But for me, as somebody who was not part of UDA, I belong to Azimio in ODM. And Gachagua never cared about other Kenyans. He was always talking about Siguze Mrima, Sisi watu wa Murima. I feel like Gachagua wanted to be the kingpin of Murima, which he now has a big opportunity to aspire or work towards to be. But the rest of the Kenyans are not upset about Gachagua going.
Okay.
The rest of the Kenyans are upset that what has followed has not followed the law.
Yeah.
The government continue to do things against the wishes of the people. The government continue to ignore the taxpayer who happens to be their boss. You know, when the president stands up and said, "Nyinyi ni washenzi sana, munasema ati tunataka kudunga ng'ombe nini." And I ask myself, do Ruto know our literacy rate today?
Yeah.
Kenyans are now educated, even if they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
And they know that, Mr. President, I'm your boss. I just donated this power to you on a temporary, what is the right word? It's like somebody, I just delegated this, my power, with the people, the opening in the constitution. This is something I've donated to you. Yep. And I will check you the way a boss checks their workers. That is what the president is having a problem understanding. He's not the boss, he's the servant of the people.
That's true, and I will engage you in also the church and the government. But now, as a member of a political party, that is ODM, the biggest party, and the party that champions for democracy, I want to bring you to the history. You remember when Baba had a handshake with the Huru Kenyatta, and it went, and there were complaints, especially currently, even to the president, who is right now the president, William Ruto. Every failure of that government was attributed to the handshake of Baba. Yeah, and right now we are seeing Kenyans are complaining about the current government. And as members of ODM, you're saying, okay, we want to take next. You want to fill for presidency, and you want to vie for president, and you want to fill in your candidate for presidency. How are you going to convince Kenyans to vote for you as a country, or I mean, as a political party? Yet you're supporting the government that Kenya is complaining about. Does it mean that you, as a party, you did not learn from the past mistakes?
I think there's still time for us to do the right thing. And I want to say that perhaps, you know, when the handshake here, Baba na Uhuru happened, for me, I think that was the best handshake of all the handshakes that could have happened, because it was the handshake that brought some relief to the taxpayers. But I think this one, because it happens in the heat of the moment. You remember, this is not something that we anticipated. The youths were in the streets. They were demonstrating against 2022 finance bill. They were demonstrating about rigid, excessive taxation. And we reached a point where the parliament itself had already been breached. And the only thing that was going to be breached next was the State House. And as I previously told you, that personally, as Mariam, I dread anything, any change that does not come through the ballot. Yeah. Because I have seen countries go down when change is forced, where I don't know, it's called coup d'etat or what have you. So just like I told you the other time, that Baba is somebody who always says that a good patriot puts the country first. And I also am also of the same opinion, that a patriot puts the country, not the opportunity that may have come with a situation like the protest, but the country. So I want to believe that perhaps the reason why this one happened, and it is all over the place. Later, it has not brought the change that we saw during the handshake here, Baba na Uhuru. Is because maybe this one, nobody anticipated that this one would happen. It was like Baba alikuwa anajaribu to save the day, you know. And Baba is also a human being. He's not a machine. And he's somebody who believes that I'd rather not be in this big position, but the country can run smoothly.
Okay, so when
You
you
know,
talk,
I know that people who will say,
yeah,
and because we've discussed this even with some of
yeah,
my colleagues, the people who believe that uh, uh, like, you know, me, I always say that I preferred the Uhuru Baba's style of handshake because I saw that it let a calm,
yeah,
ile hatred. And then the people will say, but now our people are in government. We have CS for mining. We have for Mheshimiwa Mbadi's is it called treasury.
sorry.
Then we have for Mheshimiwa Pio, and you know, I acknowledge that our people are better out in big places. And that's a political issue. That is not a development issue. That is politics. I understand and I agree with people who argue that Uru did not give us anything to write home about. But I tell you what, Uru may not have given us anything to write home about. But remember that when Uhuru and Baba became an item, the economy was going down the drain. We had come from COVID, the taxation, the you Kenyans walikuwa wanalia kila mahali. Then Baba told President Uhuru that, you know, try and find some economical measures to maybe cushion the people, cushion Kenyans economically, since we just come from the lockdowns, the COVID. And what did Uhuru do? Uhuru came up with what is the subsidies, and he made sure that there were subsidies to cushion Kenyans while Kenyans were still recovering economically from the lockdowns. But now you see with this one, I think the reason why most people don't feel like there is any change, just like myself,
Yeah,
our people are in government. I'm happy to call Mheshimiwa Wandai my fellow party mate, a CS, other than just Mheshimiwa. I'm very, very proud as a Muslim that Mheshimiwa Joho is now the CS for mining. I'm very happy to see my former party leader, deputy party leader, Mheshimiwa Paranya,
all right.
as a CS, just not the governor. You know, like those, I like the titles. They excite our people. We are happy to hold this title. But out of these titles, Brother Benson, it is the president not acknowledging that the titles will excite us during the day when we are in the rallies and the estrogen, you know, the excitement inaendelea. But when I come back home and my salary, let's say I'm a teacher, nimetoka kwa hiyo rally, I'm very happy we have our people in government. My salary is 50,000. Then this 50,000 niko na kaloni ingine hapo nilichukulia mtoto anaenda university, so it's being taxed in hiyo loan inaichukua. Sometimes I take home 30,000. Then I realize that instead of paying 800 shillings to NHIF, I'm now paying 4,000, or I'm now paying 7,000.
Yeah.
Then before I can internalize the new tax, I'm also seeing affordable housing is taking another 4,000. Then I used to have 30. Now that 30, nimebaki na 24, or sometimes even 20. Nikienda kutoa that money from my account to bring it to my M-Pesa, I'm also paying. That money, the fact that the money is coming from my account to my M-Pesa, there's a tax I'm paying.
Yeah,
I go to the supermarket with that money, I buy milk, I buy a packet of unga, I buy a packet of cooking oil, I'm taxed again. That's the money, brother Benson. Then you come home at night now, ukilala hivi, and you're asking, you tell yourself, what is the need for me? What is the need for me as an ordinary Kenyan, as a taxpayer? What is the need for me? That is what President Ruto is not understanding.
and
And let me say this.
let me
Let me say this, Brother Benson, please.
yeah.
The president must acknowledge there is no country in the world that has ever taxed itself to prosperity. When you overtaxed people, the companies close up, people lose jobs, businesses go down, purchasing power goes down, and you destroy the economy even further. We don't want affordable house. I want food.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't want affordable house.
Yeah, that is something in question. You've talked about the president is not understanding, and that's why
He's not getting, people don't have a problem with him as Ruto.
yeah.
It is the things he's doing that people have a problem with.
So
And mimi kama mtu wa ODM,
uh,
whom I may have to support him in 2027 if Baba says, we must tell him the truth, because sisi watu wa ODM alone hatutatosha.
okay, sawa sawa. Hiyo hata kusupport hiyo ndakuuliza. So when you're talking about the president is not understanding, and that's why Baba came in and gave him the expert that we talked about the the Honorable Mbadi, Honorable Pio Wandai, and if
mm,
you look at the experts that were donated in the government, this is not
mm,
the first time they are given opportunity to serve Kenyans. They've served
mm,
Kenyans before. Yeah.
mm,
So for the 3 months, if we
mm,
look at what the expert has done and still
mm,
Kenyans are complaining, does it
mm.
mean that there's no impact the experts have brought in the government?
I
To
think 3 months is what? 3 months is 90 days.
Mhm.
So I think maybe 90 days, then there's the transition part, the time for transitioning. So I think for me,
Mm.
I want to give our people in government maybe 6 months. And I want to really, really praise Mheshimiwa Mbadi.
Mm.
You know, the other day we were really talking on social media about how these regressive taxes are really hurting the middle class. They're hurting salaried people.
Yeah.
And in a true ODM fashion, I think he picked it somewhere. And I think the following day I saw a headline where he said that he's trying to look, he's consulting to see if he can find ways that can reduce the taxation so that it doesn't hurt salaried people or the middle class the way that people are currently hurting. And let me tell you, Brother Benson, you see that approach.
Yeah.
We were talking, it was a debate we had online
Yeah.
about in fact I started it. I was saying that in 2027 the middle class must come out and vote because they've had a voter apathy for a long time. They're the people who don't come out to vote, but because the president has declared war on salaried people, which is their slips, they have to come out and vote. Then it became a big discussion. Now we were talking, how are you overtaxing, how are you introducing new taxes to a static salary? And I think maybe Mushimiwa might have seen it somewhere and he picked it up. And when I talked about it, I know that he saw it.
Yeah.
And for me, I think not just for me, I think for most Kenyans, that is what people want from Ruto. Let me tell you why people like Mushimiwa Tuoli always say that Raila Odinga supporters can commit suicide for Raila.
Yeah.
You know why we call Baba Baba?
No.
Baba is not perfect. I've said it, I think, 1,000 times. But the reason why Raila Odinga supporters love him, Baba listens. I think that might be where he got that name, Ya Baba.
Yeah.
Baba listens. And I want to give you an example of how Baba listens. You know, sometimes the way I always complain that sometimes our party primaries and what have you,
Mm.
there are times that somebody is given a certificate, but the people, we call them Jopin here, were not with that person. Then the people demonstrate, you know, they make a lot of noise. It happened in 2017. They go to the streets, they say, we didn't vote for this guy.
Yeah.
You know, Baba usually makes a phone call and they would say, what is happening in Kisumu? And then maybe it would be told that, oh, you know, the certificate for this constituency was given to this person, but the people wanted A. And Baba would say, give him, if he won, give him back the certificate. So that if Ruto can pick that and run with it,
Yeah.
you know, it's not what you have done. It is the way you respond, Brother Benson. You see all these things that people are saying about the government.
But why?
What continue to fuel them is the response that comes from the president.
Okay, we
It's
need
the
to.
way he's responding.
Okay, before we need to go to another discussion, and we've talked to something that is quite much.
But
I
now you've understood why we call Baba Baba.
Yeah, and in
Baba
that.
listens to us. When he takes a stand,
Yeah.
na anaona kama wafuasi wamekataa tunapiga kelele, Baba would say, okay, let's do it like this.
So
And that is why we are followers and not just supporters.
so when you say that Baba listens, and
Mm,
the critical moment when the Gen Z who got their inspiration, especially for the fight that Baba has been having for this country, they
mm,
told Baba to keep off the the issue of mandamano. Yeah.
mm, mm,
Baba went and talked to the government and donated the expert to the government. You know,
mm,
they
mm,
got angry, and now if you go to the online,
mm,
I think you've witnessed on what is happening on the online, especially when it comes to the criticism and everything about Baba. You know,
mm.
did he not listen to the Gen Z?
He did.
And what
He
happened?
did. You know, I told you that we've had protests. Even before the Gen Z protests, our people were in the streets. I was in the streets. We were doing the high cost of living mandamano that gave birth to the NADCO report.
Yeah.
So he listened. The only thing that happened, and I also mentioned it earlier, that, we've had demonstrations, bloody demonstrations where people have been killed, bad things have happened. But we have never had demonstrations by the Benson where a parliament is breached the way it happened. That has never happened. And believe me when I tell you that the next place that was going to be breached was State House. So this is something that was new, I think, to even Baba. And I think what Baba was thinking about, you breach parliament, now it is null and void. You go and you breach State House, now that we don't have a president, Ruto may decide to run away or fight, then we become a military rule. We have seen what military rule has done in other countries. Sudan is a classic example. We have seen it in Egypt. We have seen it in Tunisia. We are now seeing it in Syria. So I think Baba, this thing is something. This was a historic first.
Okay.
The Genesis demonstration was a historic first. We've never had a thing like this before. It scared everybody. Everybody was shook. I don't think there's anybody that was not shocked with the Genesis demos. And Baba was operating from, let us save the country. Let the country not go to Gachagua who only thinks about Mount Kenya. Let us save the country. So that might have informed his information ya kuongea na Ruto.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let me engage you in issue that to deal with the church, because from recent days, we've seen churches coming out to criticize president, especially the mainstream churches like Catholic, even to an extent of them rejecting his donation. And yesterday, we saw some pastors or evangelical bishops visited the president in State House. What is your take, or what do you think what has happened? Why were they invited and the mainstream churches did not attend it?
I think when it comes to church and our governance, or church and our politics, there are two ways to look at it. Way one would be, I always tell you that mimi ni mtu mwenye napenda history. When I'm idle, I do a lot of reading and research on historic issues like geopolitics and what have you. So for me, as a student of history, of Kenyan's history, when people like Mheshimiwa Oscar Sudi comes out and condemns the church, bastardizes the church, all those nasty words that you can imagine about the church, then I tell myself that Mheshimiwa Oscar Sudi, that I respect so much, is either unaware of Kenya's political history and the church, or amelewa na power. The way they say that the power has gotten into his head. Brother Benson, one of the biggest liberation struggle was the second liberation struggle. And I keep taking you back because I told you maybe into a history. When Baba, Mheshimiwa James Orengo, our governor, Professor Nyang'nyong'o, Martin Shikuku, Kenneth Matiba, Miss Martha Karua, all those great Kenyans, when they were fighting tyrannical rule of Mzee Moi, the KANU, the dark era of KANU, the church was very actively involved. One of the people who even smuggled Baba when Moi wanted to kill him or to arrest him the second time was the church, was a pastor, I think a Catholic pastor. Have you ever heard of a man called Timothy Njoya?
Reverend Timothy Njoya, yes.
Have you ever heard of Reverend Timothy Njoya?
Yes.
He was not just a reverend, he was an activist. And is one of those people, if the history of this country was to be written, the second liberation history was to be written, you cannot write the history of Kenya, the second liberation history, without mentioning Reverend Njoya, Timothy Njoya. So church criticizing the government, church being the voice of the people, is not a new thing, Brother Benson. It has happened. The church has been politically active, speaking up for the people. There was a time an NGO wanted to come here and sterilize our youths. The first people that spoke was Raila Amolo Odinga, that said no to that vaccine. And the second people were the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, the church has always been the voice of the people from time immemorial. It is not a new thing. And the reason why, when you take Ruto's case, Ruto is the last person that should be faced when the government hammers him. Ruto's candidature was sold to the church as the best thing that has ever happened. That the best thing that could change Kenya. Every Sunday, Ruto was in a church in central Kenya or Rift Valley or even here. Ruto campaigned in church like nobody. I remember every other Sunday he was kneeling down somewhere, somebody was blessing him. So the church even promised the church, you know, serikali iko na amnesia, selective amnesia. Ruto had a pact with the church, the Catholic Church to be exact, and Mount Kenya churches, the Pentecostal churches. And they were even promised, I think, some position in government and even some allocations. Outside the fact that the church being the voice of the people is not a new thing, Ruto's government, the part of the people that supported Ruto wholeheartedly, was the church. Brother Benson. These things, you can still roll the tape and find them. So, and I told you, my opening statement was, the reason why President Ruto is not going to know peace anytime soon, if he considered criticism that is receiving from online as a disturbance, is Ruto overpromised. He talked that good talk, but when the time to do came, he has done nothing. Every little thing that President Ruto promised, the moment he said, I do, he renegated on everything.
But now, when you come to the religious, because as compared to the previous administration, we've always witnessed.
But by the way, even there was a time the church was telling us. I remember I'd gone to a church in central Kenya when we were trying to sell Baba in central Kenya. And there's a specific Kikuyu church that told us, I'm not saying Kikuyu, I'm not tribal, I'm a child that was born from different tribes. So I cannot afford to be tribal. I remember a specific church in Mount Kenya told us that Ruto was a God-chosen leader. I heard that a lot in central Kenya. I think I even heard it in one of the Catholic churches that we were going when we were campaigning for Baba. The church told us Ruto was a chosen leader, that God chose Ruto. Why is Ruto having a problem with the church telling him that you are misruling the country? Perhaps it is the same God that told the church that he was the right guy, that is now telling the church that this guy is not doing the right thing.
Let me ask you, because now we are on religious, because I want to give you a comparison with the previous administration, especially when you look at the administration of the late Honorable Moi Kibaki, the late Huru. Those two administrations, actually, when it comes to religious, they were not so much on selective or geared towards one religion. You would see the president including even imams in matters of national unity. But for President Ruto is quite much different. We are seeing the Islamic faith is kind of like sidelined. We don't see them in the forefront, especially when it comes to matters of the nation. Or my observation.
It's true. It's true.
What could be the reason?
I don't know. I think during campaigns, no, not during campaigns. I think immediately after elections, when I think Ruto got sworn in, I think they were praying for state house because of those things that were being said. Me, I don't drink, I don't know those things. But I think at one point, I think before is vitu zifanyike where now we have broad-based. I think at one point I said online, there was a day that there was a lot of church people that had gone to State House, and it was being said that they were coming out with brown envelopes. Allegedly, I don't want to go to court, allegedly. So I said online that I've seen our First Lady, Mheshimiwa Rachel Ruto. She really has been welcoming the church, but I never saw even one single Muslim cleric that was invited to the State House. In fact, there has not been any Muslim cleric invited to State House. And I remember at that particular time, I think I said it in that group, that WhatsApp group that I was telling you about last time. And
Yeah.
they came and told me, wewe ni mtoto wa Mwarabu. You know the way they say, oh, you're saying that because you're a child of an Arab Muslim father. So
Mm.
you know the way they tell you go back to Northeastern and what have you.
Yeah.
People came at me. People came at me. They told me that I was saying that because I'm a Muslim. I was saying that because I'm a child of an Arab Muslim father. They said very many bad things, even told me to go back to Northeastern.
Yeah.
But it is something I observed and spoke about the same time I was speaking about IMF and World Bank.
Yeah.
So I will say this though. I think of all the governments we've had, this one I must give Ruto, because me, I don't have a personal problem with Ruto. I just have an issue with the way he's leading. I think Ruto's government has really empowered our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about maybe my Muslim side of the family. I see he gave us ESCC, he gave us Nordin Haji, and he has empowered our people. But has he brought our people closer to him? That is a story for another day. So you never know. Maybe, and another thing,
Yeah.
us Muslims,
Mhm.
we really don't play with our mosques.
Yeah.
We don't play about our God. I'm not saying somebody plays about their God. I'm just saying that in my community, we don't like mixing politics and religion.
Yeah.
The only person that I know Muslims have really supported wholeheartedly is Raila Amolo Odinga. And that is because Baba has always also stood with the Muslims from time immemorial.
Somebody is asking me to ask you, when you say our people, what does it mean?
Can I say our people? It depends with the context. Like I'm talking about religion now. I'm a Muslim. I'm a proud child of an Arab Muslim father and an African black mother. That one you can't take from me. It's who I am. And
Okay.
because I'm a Muslim, I will say our people. Muslims are my people. The
Okay.
same way nikijipata huko nje, I will say my Luo people or my Nyanza people. It depends with the context.
Okay. Thank you. Now we've discussed about the church. Now let's come to the social media, government, and the youth. Of recently, you've witnessed and you've seen, you've tested. This is something that is there. When you go to social media, you find that this activism has gone into social media, and especially the people who have felt it the most now, I would say, is the president and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, especially ever since he started to vie for the AUC. Yeah, there's so many things that have been written about him, and people even like an extent whereby a group are supporting the competitor of Baba, the competitor of Baba. What can you say about the social media, and how can government approach the use of social media?
I say leave social media alone.
Mm.
Leave social media the hell alone. In fact, if there's anything the president should not dare do, is to touch social media. But on Baba's issue,
Yeah.
I think the people who are really upset, that are really slandering Baba and saying that the Djibouti guy should go, I think they're Gachagua followers who think that it's Baba who maybe think that Ruto felt that he can now get rid of Gachagua because he has Baba.
He
So
gave
for them,
he
it's a
gave the
vendetta
president
they
support.
have against our party leader.
Mm.
Yes, because let me tell you, I told you when we were starting that right now there are two groups of people in Kenya. There are people like me who want good governance, who does not want to be overtaxed, who wants a health care scheme to work for the people, who does not have a personal problem with President Ruto except rigid or rather regressive taxes. Then there is also another group of people who are just against Ruto because maybe he removed Gachagua. And what can we do? Even that group, they happen to be Kenyans. They're the ones who are slandering Baba. Because let me tell you, these people, the reason why I want to encourage our people to go on social media and applaud Baba and support Baba and counter these people These people who are slandering Baba, who are wishing Baba bad, who don't want Baba to become the chair of African Union, are the same people who say that laws are not circumcised and Baba should not become president. They're the ones who say that word. I don't know, it's called kihi or what. There's some terminology they use.
Yeah.
Because let me ask you, Brother Benson, it is not like Raila Odinga just woke up from his home in Opoda and went and decided that our people will go to Ruto's government. Baba was on the ballot. He was on the ballot. If Baba was on the ballot, asking you, please give me a chance. Every good thing that has happened in this country, other than independence that we got from the British colonials, Raila Odinga has been involved. He was championing the second liberation fight. He brought us the new devolution. He has done so much for Kenya. And he has been asking, let me be your president. Try me.
Yeah.
These people refused just based on the fact that Baba ni Mjaluo. You know, that you are Jakatwa, you know, those cultural nonsense. They refused Baba on that note. So they voted for Ruto. So the Ruto that they chose, themselves, they woke up early in the morning and they voted for Ruto and refused Baba. Now they want Baba to fight Ruto for them because why? Kwani Baba ni mfanyikazi ya mtu. Baba is a human being like me and you. He also has feelings.
So why
do you want to hold Raila Odinga to a higher standard that you cannot hold the person you elected? These people's anger is misplaced. Let me tell you, people who voted for Ruto,
maybe because Baba set the high standard for them, so maybe they feel Baba is below. He's going to lower the standard.
But let me tell you, there's no standard that Baba has lowered, Brother Benson. We have African Union. You know, even long before our people went to government, the experts, Baba had to talk to Ruto. Even before the demonstrations, I personally went online. I like Googling things when I'm free. And I checked. And I also saw with my own two eyes that one of the recommendations for Baba to become African Union chair, was that the president of his country had to endorse him. And you remember the relationship between Baba and Ruto after elections. It was not the best of relationships. So what did you want Baba to do? He had to talk to Ruto to get that endorsement the way African Union regulations requires.
Yeah.
He had to talk to Ruto. And let me tell you, when you have a problem in your house, I'm in my house with my children and my family members. If there's a problem in my house and I go and announce it to outsiders, I'm doing more harm to me than the people I'm telling. Because the picture that we are showing the world is that Kenya is a failed state where Kenyans don't want their leaders, including a man that has done so much for Kenya like Raila Odinga. What do you want Raila Odinga to do? Raila Odinga said, I am no longer practicing Kenyans politics. He has even relinquished his title that we hold him, that we say is our party. He said our party leader is now His Excellency Governor Nyang' Nyong'o. What do you want from Raila Odinga? You don't vote for him when he's on the ballot, but you wait to hold him to a higher standard. For what? I feel that, somebody like you or me, we are the only people who have a right to criticize Baba, because as our votes belongs to Baba. And let me say I will always vote for Baba. Yeah. So I'm the only one who can criticize Baba. The people who did not vote for Baba does not have any moral ground to criticize anything that Baba does, Akishabaki.
Okay.
It is like, now I was on the ballot. The people who didn't vote for me, some people told me to go back to Northeastern. The people who just didn't like me because I don't look like everybody else here. And I was told, where Rudy Northeastern, who on your queen. So then you choose somebody that looks like you. When that somebody fails, unakuja kunipigia kelele. Mimi mwenye nilikuwa kwa debe ukakataa kunipa kura nirudi Northeastern. Really? Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Let us be realistic. Okay. Anybody who is saying that Baba Baki, there's a problem in the country. There's a leadership problem in the country. That is a given. Does that has to do with Baba? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay. Now,
blame the right person. Blame Mr. President, the person you voted and gave the power to lead the country. That is where you should direct your complaint.
So, it is okay that you should blame the president. And now, it's becoming quite much difficult to, like, you want to blame the president, and the same president that you want to blame is getting support from all the political class. So where are you going to withdraw the line?
Getting the nini from the political class. Kenyans just have to have a Damascus moment,
Yeah.
including Kikuyus, who
Yeah.
have played a big role in us having bad president because of their tyrannical rule of numbers or whatever it's called.
Mhm.
Kenyans have to wake up. Usually I believe that if there's a problem,
Yeah.
and you really want to get rid of that problem, don't start blaming people. Ask yourself, which part did I play in this problem? So for me, I feel like the people who are really insulting Baba online, calling Baba, I don't know, conman,
Mhm.
they are the people who gave us President Ruto. So they should ask themselves, what if perhaps we voted for Raila Odinga? Or now that we have known that Ruto is like this, what are we going to do? By the way, I want to talk to young people. Now, I want to take this opportunity to address our youths,
Yeah.
and address all disenfranchised Kenyans. And I want to tell them that insulting Raila Odinga,
Mhm.
even calling President Ruto Kasongo, though it's hilarious, I find it funny, and I don't think he should be upset,
Mhm.
will not give us change that we want.
Mhm.
We should start having a very one-on-one. We should have an epiphany, or rather we should have a Damascus moment. What role did we play where we have gotten to a point where we have a parliament full of yes men that cannot challenge something yenye naumiza watu? What role did we play? Let us take notes, because look at it this way.
Yeah.
I know that we have a compromised presidential electoral system.
Mm.
All this noise we are making online may not change that. But you know what? We have the power to change today. Who we are going to vote as the MCA, who we are going to vote as the MP, who we are going to vote as the governor and the senator. Because we have four arms of government, Baba being the fifth one, I believe.
Mm.
If we had MPs, Brother Benson,
Yeah.
that knew that my constituents does not want finance bill 2024, wamekata. They go to parliament, they put their foot down, and they tell Mr. President, we respect you, you are the head of this country, but the people does not want this finance bill. They say it and they affirm it, and they refuse to let that thing pass in parliament, Brother Benson. Hakuna kitu Ruto angefanya. Bring Adani issue. We talked about Adani because Kenya is a nation of educated people. People went online, people researched Adani. By the way, thank God to Donald Trump and FBI. At least wamemulika Adani.
Mhm.
And Ruto is also putting his blame at Kenyans are the ones the reason why he did not accept Adani. Adani, ye mwenye amewacha Adani because FBI ilimuinduct. Maybe had FBI not mulika the guy, the thing would have still been going on. So let us concentrate on what we can change.
Okay.
What can we change? Our mindset.
So, but now, as much as you say we can change our mindset, and that mindset is already changing, but every time you want to bring that mindset, we see political moves that are even worrying to an extent where it becomes us versus them. You know, us versus them, where the entire political class come with the narrative right now, the narrative that we have, and I want to also to get your mind that we are geared towards the unity. Yeah. So, and this unity is for political class. When the political class say that we are united, then that is what we have to go with. But without even consulting the people of Kenya to ask them, are we not united?
But that again goes back to you and me. Do you know the political class is 1%?
But
1%.
they control massive.
Nobody can control you against your will. Nobody can control. It goes back to you and me, Brother Benson. And I say we may not have, we know it is an open secret that we have a compromised presidential electoral system. But what do we have that is not compromised? The ballot for the MP that goes there and passes these rogue bills. The ballot for the MCA that refuses to oversight the governor. The ballot for the women rep. The ballot for the senator. You know, there's something they said, one step at a time. In 2027, for me, I want to say it's going to be one of the most important elections in this country.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, for it to be important and for us to feel the change, Ruto doesn't even have to go. If you give Ruto MPs that listen to Kenyans, that know that we are the servants of the people don't want Adani. If Ruto brings Adani in parliament, Adani will not Peter. What will Ruto do? Atapita hiyo kitu by force. And even right now, instead of youths trying to even kutoa Ruto by force, if we had MPs that listens to the people, Ruto can be impeached the way they impeached Gachagua. So for me, I believe that Kenyans need to have a Damascus moment. Make noise all you want. We have freedom of speech thanks to Raila Amolo Odinga. We have freedom of speech. I think it's not even in Kenya. It's a universal law. Everybody's free to say what they think, so long as you're not hurting somebody. Let us use the platforms to champion change. And that change does not have just to be Ruto. That change can start with the person you elected, the MCA.
But we've seen Kenyans practicing that freedom of speech, but at the end of the day, they're being abducted on the street, and how can they practice that?
Now that is what Kenyans need to stand up to. Abductions and trying to stifle the dissenting voices. That we must stand up against. That President Ruto must accept. He must. Even the most mature democracies like where you are.
Yeah.
I will call President Joe Biden Genocide Joe. I still call him Genocide Joe because of what is happening in Palestine. I post in social medias and even WhatsApp groups I used to be in when I lived in the US. Hakuna mtu amesema anataka kunishika because I called Joe Biden Genocide Joe. When Kamala was vying, I was calling her child killer Kamala Harris. And we really decampaigned her online and in WhatsApp groups because we didn't like what is happening in Palestine. And nothing happened, even to those who are in the US. Freedom of speech. That one is one thing that President Ruto must be told. He cannot keep us from talking. People must talk. We must talk. It is our right. It is a universal right. The abductions has to stop. And by the way, Mimi, I'm really blaming our parliament. Do you know what is going on in Haiti?
Yeah.
Do you remember our first conversation?
Yes.
I told you that the Haitian people does not need another invasion from an African country. I told you that the Haitian people needed a resolution. Even if it meant bringing even the gangs to the table.
Yeah.
What did President Ruto and Parliament do? They passed that thing. And our police are now stuck in Haiti with a 2 billion taxpayer bill. President Ruto should not blame Kenyans. If I could speak to President Ruto, the way I'm speaking to you, I'd tell him, easy asira zenye unamwaga kwa platforms. Go sit somewhere in a corner and drink cold water and change your approach.
Okay.
Change the way you see this. Ask yourself, how can I work with the people and not be the boss? You know, some of these things, like I'm telling you, the issue of Mheshimiwa Mbadi. He brought that 2024 finance bill. Silikuwa tunaambiwa inarudi some clauses. We made a lot of noise. We said that you will not overtax middle class or salaried people. We made noise. He picked it. And he said, I agree. What can we, he was even telling us, what can we do? He was saying on an interview, what Kenyans should bring in ideas. What can we do so that we don't overtax salaried people? You know, that is what Kenyans want. Even President Ruto now, we do not want shift, whatever it's called. Kenyans do not want, stop forcing things. Speak to people. Let me tell you, I want President Ruto, if somebody who knows him can watch this thing, I challenge President Ruto to take a walk in any public hospital. I want him to go to oncology clinic. I want him to go to renal unit. And they are only the suffering of Kenyans because of this SHA thing.
By the way, talking about SHA, there is one of our viewers here. I think it was last week, was saying that Kisumu, the SHA is working. So, as a member of County Assembly, is it true that it is working in Kisumu?
No comment.
Thank you so much. And what is your
That
take?
is not an affirmative or not an affirmative. I just said no comment. Me, I don't like gaslighting people.
Yes,
I don't like gaslighting our people.
Felix Kibogong. Now come and watch this video, and you will get the information. So, now, before we wind up, what is the way forward for 2027? The IBC is not here, not yet put in place. Time is running out. Just a comment before we wind up for the IBC.
I think for the IBC, it is a really sad thing. It is a very, very sad situation. And sometimes I feel that while we applaud devolution and 2010 constitution as the best thing that has ever happened to the country,
Yeah.
there are some clauses or articles that works against the people when you have a leader that is not pro people. A classic example would be the standoff in formation of IBC.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know how this is going to happen, because Kenyans no longer trust the president. So even if the president was to approach it with the goodwill and reconstitute the IBC, people are still not going to be satisfied. And while we are now talking about IBC, I also want to say that in the spirit of broad-based government,
Yeah.
the Cherera 4 should be allowed to come back to the country, because we have healed. I've personally accepted that President Ruto is the president until 2027, and whatever will come, only God knows. So I think like Irene Masit, she lost her dad, biological father.
Yeah.
And she could not come back home to bury her father. I really felt her pain, and I felt that it was unfair, because she was just trying to do the right thing and she was exiled, but now we have become friendly with the government. She should be a beneficiary of this broad-based government, and they should be able to come back home.
Okay.
On how we will approach IBC, I am as clueless as any other person. Okay. Another thing that I want also to emphasize is that I feel that there are some clauses in the Constitution or in the 2010 Constitution that, it was a new thing. It was mostly trial and error that we may need to maybe tweak or even to add in some things. And another thing that I would maybe hope that one day, if we ever have an opportunity to tweak the Constitution, to check the presidential powers. Okay. The biggest elephant in this country that has given birth to all these things you are seeing is reckless borrowing that started immediately President Kibaki's regime ended. That is the elephant in the room. You see, every little thing that has gone wrong in President Ruto, and even both President Uhuru's regime, 90% of those issues were caused by reckless borrowing. And I see a situation where we continue to borrow recklessly, to a point that the way we are borrowing, if you compare it to our GDP, you see that economically we are going down the drain. In fact, Kenyans who make noise online, for me, I don't want to call it noise. I think they're exercising their civil right. Yeah. What most Kenyans don't know is that Kenya has a very huge problem, the debt problem.
They know. Go to space. Go to space. Listen to space where Kenyans are talking.
The last time I was here, I told you that if Ruto means well, because Ruto is also a human being. Hatutaki kumfinya sana. He's a human being like me and you. Yeah. But sometimes it is the show of goodwill that can change the attitude of Kenyans towards Ruto. The attitude that already now kila mtu anamuona kama mtu mbaya. If he could share in the pain of Kenyans, the concerns of Kenyans, and even decide to say that we want to tell Kenyans where we stand with the debts. Do you know that the reason why, if me and you today walked into a bank in this country to borrow as an individual, my interest rate would be around 18%. Is because of the reckless borrowing the government has done. That is why when I'm borrowing, I have to pay 18% and not 10 or even 8%. Are you
Yep.
aware of that?
Yep.
And the way the president is approaching the debt situation, he's
Mhm.
not trying to solve the problem. He's trying to kuipeleka mbele,
Yep.
anaisongesha, maybe hoping that he can do his 10 terms, and then the person mwenye anakuja will deal with it. And
Oh,
not the way regimes zinaenda hivi zikienda, we continue to go down the drain.
yeah.
And then there's also another thing
Mhm.
that the president should try and do. Priorities, Benson. Priorities.
Yeah.
Why did we take 2 billion to Haiti?
You were going to Kenya is a peaceful country, so you have to assist other countries to maintain peace.
We couldn't assist Somalia, Sudan, or
Mm.
Congo, where there's been a 20-something-year-old Holocaust.
Mm.
We had no business going to Haiti. And I said it. I said it even in one of your shows, where I said that we, the people of Africa, Haitians are black people like me and you. We owe these people a resolution. We shouldn't be the country that an imperial rule
Mhm.
uses to go back and invade Haiti. And we were told that the West would pay this money. You know what happened at the UN the other day?
Yep.
China and Russia vetoed the money that to return, making this thing to become a UN mission. China and Russia vetoed it. You know what that means for us? It means that we are going to shoulder the financial burden of our soldiers in Haiti. And there's already 2 billion down the drain.
Hopefully things will work out. So
Another thing,
yes.
why do we need to use 500 million to hold the Grammys? For who?
I
Priorities.
I
Number 3.
yes.
These are things that I hope people will see and tell Ruto.
Uh,
Number 3.
uh,
Why is Ruto building affordable housing from our money when we did not ask the government for the? It sounds like a noble thing when you said I'm building affordable housing, but you tell me, Brother Benson, you
yeah.
are taxing me 5,000, 7,000 shillings per month that you are building affordable housing.
Mm.
I will be 40 soon.
Yeah.
So tell me, hii 7,000 yangu itatosha 3 million kama niko na miaka ngapi?
Sasa wacha nikuulize hapo, kwa sababu we ni mojawapo pali ambapo unawakilisha. Kuna mradi ya affordable housing inaenda, manyumba zilibomolewa huko juzi, na umekuwa na mazungumzo na wale ambao wanatoka huko karibu ama wakaaji wa hapo, na ukawapatia ama wazo ama umempatia riwaza ya hiyo nyumba affordable housing kwamba watakuja kupata, kwa sababu zinauzwa kwa market value. When they're being sold, they're sold at market value. Do you think the people who are there can afford them?
Let me ask you.
Mm.
I consider Kaloleni my village where I was born.
Yes.
The houses there, I think the most expensive one is 10,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Somebody who lives in a 3,000 shillings house, ya matope, that is struggling to pay that 3,000. You want to tell them that the government is building affordable houses for 3 million, 4 million. Wende ununue, ametoa wapi?
Tutangoja. Unajua, that's why we are very glad that the experts were in the government, so they will assist us to do that in the near future. So one thing that I would want to say, I want to thank you so much for coming into the show and talking to us. I'll be visiting you soon, talking about tembea Kaloleni, nionyeshe watu wa kwanza Kisumu kutoka na Kaloleni pale unatokea, kwani jambo tunapigania na pia na kuona pale kwa Nyamami. Mpango ni gani kwa Nyamami?
Nyamami ama Nyakamami?
Nyakamami, yes,
No,
Nyakamami.
she's called Her Excellency Ruth Abdiambodinga Yawa. Don't call her Nyakamami like that. She's a honorable
Nyakamami.
lady.
I'm in one of I'm in one of our group.
Mm.
Mm.
Now she's doing a good job trying
Eh,
to empower women.
uh-huh.
But Baba said that all of us who had ambitions za
eh,
2027,
eh,
he said that we have to relax,
eh.
and because when you start campaigning that unataka hii kiti na mwingine amekalia,
Mhm.
inaleta joto.
This
So Baba said, let these people work. Then
uh-huh.
you start talking about politics in 2026, when now we know that the office bearer, their term is now coming to an end. So far tunachapa kazi, but maybe I'm saying it,
Eh,
I really would have loved
uh-huh.
to go to national parliament.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I would add more value there,
Uh-huh.
but then again, nature, we
Uh-huh.
are taught that you do not climb the mango tree. You climb from down, going backward. So there are the things you really feel you want, but then there's also the channel that can take you there.
Okay.
So if I'm unable to find my way there,
Uh,
I will be on the ballot in Kaleni More Ward.
okay. You will be competing against our good friend Honorable Adede Sheshe.
Adede is a good guy. We will tutapambana tu na hali yetu.
Mtapambana.
Yes,
Okay.
you know, people always think that politics is enmity.
Yeah.
It's competition. You can even compete against your husband or even your sister or your brother. It doesn't mean now you are loggerhead. It's just competition.
Okay. I wish both of you well.
And Adede is the son of the soil.
Yeah.
So personally, I do not have a personal problem with him.
I wish you all
He's
well.
an amazing person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we campaigned against each other in 2022.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those people who never told me to go back to Northeastern.
Yeah.
He was very gracious. He knew that it is just competition. I really have nothing bad to say about Adede. I
Okay.
really don't have anything negative to say.
Okay. Thank you so much. I wish you well, both of you, because I know you, both of you, at personal level. So, and I'm sides. I like you all.
Let the best guy carry the day.
Let the best guy carry the day, can do wonders
Yes.
for of Kaloleni. That is what we want.
Let
And
the youth
thank you so
continue
much.
talking. And while they
Yes.
are talking, I'm forgetting this one. I want to say it again.
Yeah.
The Gen Zs,
Yeah.
Musikufe Roho, wherever you are, you have the power to change the trajectory of this country, politically speaking. Just have your priorities right. What is the most important thing to be done today? If you ask me, we have things that we must do if we are going to change the country, the trajectory of the political trajectory of the country. Number one, we have to accept that we have a big problem with tribal politics. Our politics is deeply rooted in negative ethnicity. And another thing, the biggest thing, our presidential electoral system is deeply compromised. As young people, as leaders of tomorrow, how do we make sure that, because you know, even if we say tunapeleka Ruto nyumbani, then we are not certain that elections are going to be free and fair in 2027. We may find ourselves with Ruto again, and they will be even more vicious. You know? So one of the one.
Yeah.
How can we hold free, verifiable presidential elections?
We'll talk about
Thing two, 2027. Don't vote for MPs who will go to parliament and become the mouthpiece and the yes men of the president. We are a democracy. It was not meant to work that way. The MPs are supposed to oversight the government. So let Kiria, and most of our MPs, our parliament right now, almost 80% of them have shown us who they are. That MP that voted for finance bill, that MP that was propping up Adani, that senator that keeps cannot tell the president to try and stop the abductions and trying to stifle the dissenting voices. Don't give those people power again in 2027. Bring in fresh people who are not afraid to tell the president, no, Mr. President, we love you, we respect you, but this is a no.
Okay. Wamoisikia, and once again, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for coming into our show, and I will visit you, and soon I will be talking to Madam, the women rep for Kisumu.
Good. That would be great.
I will be coming
I'll
to
watch.
I'll be coming to her personally. I will not host her online. I will
Oh,
nice and
she is actually a very nice lady
yeah,
who believes in you. Let me tell you something about Mheshimiwa Ruth.
yeah.
Do you know that currently there are very few leaders who have the courage to speak truth to power, especially after the broad-based government?
Mm,
Do you know that in Kisumu County, the
mhm,
only fearless person, very few fearless leaders, me being one of them,
mhm.
who have taken a stance and said that we must tell the president the truth. One
Yeah.
of them is Mheshimiwa Ruth Odhiambo.
I've seen one of her clip.
She is the one person that is not afraid of speaking power, truth to power.
I'll look up. I'm coming to have an interview with her soon, and it will be a wonderful one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and may God bless you. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Those who have been with us, and let me take this opportunity to thank Gibson Connor for coming to the show and for your comments. Let me take also this Godfrey Kinyoru, thank you so much. Judith, thank you so much for your participation. And I'm waiting for Makobura to come in to weigh his thoughts before. Hey, Makobura,
Yes, good evening.
good evening. How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How was your Jamhuri?
Jamhuri yangu imekuwa vyema.
Uh,
Mambo imekuwa shwari,
uh,
and we thank God first
uh,
that He gave us a good patriotic.
yeah.
He gave us people who are very powerful and people who came out to fight for
Yeah.
us. And out of that, we got independence. And today, we are enjoying the fruits of the independence. Today, we are enjoying the freedom that our forefathers fought for. And
Mhm.
to me, it is a nice thing that we are reflecting, about ourselves as a people, ourselves as a country, and, all those things that we've gone through as the people of Africa.
Na we ulipata nafasi kwenda kujumuika na Kenya kufanya sherehe ama haukupata nafasi?
I didn't go because I don't like associating myself with a group of politicians who are giving promises each and every day, but at the end of the day, they don't fulfill. So I just opted to stay away
Mm.
and to, in one way or another, to just give my input from far.
Sasa uzalendo wako iko wapi? Kama kila wakati nyinyi mnasema kwamba sisi wa Kenya ni wazalendo na imefika wakati ambapo leo ilikuwa ni siku ambayo labda unaweza onesha uzalendo wako kwa nchi yako ambao unaipenda na wewe ukaamua kukaa nyumbani kwa sababu
Nime,
unatofautiana kifikra na mawazo kulingana na siasa ama katika siasa.
nilitoka nje, nimesema sikujumuika na wenzetu, hasa
Oh,
wale ambao walikuwa wanaongozwa na rais.
yeah.
Lakini mimi kama Mkenya nilijitokeza asubuhi na nikabeba kile kinaitwa bendera ya Kenya,
Eh,
nikatembea kila mahali nikiambia Wakenya ya kwamba we are free. Let us enjoy the freedom that we fought for,
mhm,
and also let us be a united force, and let us call to account
mhm,
the leadership that we have in the Republic of Kenya, because my feeling was that we made steps
mhm,
ahead, steps which were actually going to help us as a people, to ensure that the people of Kenya
yeah.
get what it takes. The issues to do with the economy
Mm,
and all other things which would help the lives of the people of Kenya were all catered for. But I've always felt of late that the people that we've given time to lead us have
mhm,
forgotten that already we had made steps, and that they have forgotten the fact that they have to, they have to try and do away with things with corruptions and others.
Okay. Thank you so much. Who is Gibson Kevin Obura? Remember, I'm still marking you on your Kiswahili. Keep the record for end of the year.
Very well. Gypsy Corner nimerudi hapa na vile vile tu nimesema, mimi nina imani ya kwamba kwa yale yote ambayo tunafanya kama wananchi wa Kenya, tutafika pale ambapo tunafikiria kufika. Sasa maoni yangu ni kwamba niwahimize Wakenya wote tushikamane na tufikirie ya kwamba hii nchi tusipoishikanisha, tusipoleta watu wote pamoja, tufikirie pamoja na tusimame na wale wote, hasa wale ambao hawana, especially those who are not having the privilege, to speak up for themselves. We need to come out and speak up for them. We need to also educate wale ambao hawapati ile elimu, wale ambao hawajui kile ambacho kinafanyika serikalini, wale ambao hawaelewi ya kwamba tuko na constitution and that constitution protects us as a people. So we need to get out and educate our people so that they also get to feel and appreciate the fact that we've come from far and that up to this extent, the freedom and everything that we are enjoying, these are things that came out of the blood that was shed by our forefathers.
Okay, Makubura, asante sana kwa maoni yako and nadhani tumefika mwisho wa mjadala huu wa leo ambapo nilikuwa na mheshimiwa kutoka Kisumu ambapo amezungumzia mambo mengi.
Labda kabla tumalize, hata mimi nataka kupongeza mheshimiwa dada yetu Abeid.
Yeah.
Naona ya kwamba kwa mazungumzo yake sasa tunaelewa ya kwamba yeye ni mtu ya ODM na tena ODM ndo imemteua kama mwakilishi wodi wa Kisumu. Lakini akiongea ama akizungumza, anazungumza kama mwana Kenya, anazungumza not as an ODM person or member, but he's speaking from his heart. It is true that the people of Kenya are going through tough lives, and you cannot just start, protecting or praising the president just because, the party leader Raila Amolo Odinga, says we have to support. So I like the fact that she's able to single out, the most important thing that she can support in that government, and things which the president is not doing right, she's able to come out and say that on this and this, the president is not doing right. And that's a good thing. And that's a sign of leadership to me.
You know what? I know sometimes she's very loyal supporter of the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga. That is a fact, because ever since I came to know her, she has been. But another thing with her that sometimes makes her quite much different with other members of the county assembly is she's very vocal. She has her independent mind. In several occasions, she's spoken some of the words that did not go well with the followers of the party and even the followers of the lovers of Baba, but she has maintained her ground, and that is something that I know with her. Yeah, and if you look at even in the nomination, actually she did well, but along the way something happened, and she usually speaks about it several times in her shows or where she's very vocal about it. She doesn't shy away from talking about it. So that is who she is. But she's still somebody who is fighting for a place. Another thing also that usually I know she usually get backlash in terms of her how she was born, because she's of a Muslim father and a Christian mom staying in Kaloleni. I don't know whether you've had a privilege to visit Kaloleni in Kisumu. Kaloleni in Kisumu is mostly dominated, is an area that is mostly dominated by the people who are practicing Islamic faith. You know, I don't know whether you've had opportunity to be in Kaloleni in Kisumu.
Yeah. I know. I come from that county. I know a bit of what is happening in the, especially within the Kisumu Central wards. I know part of the wards.
Yeah, and if you go to when you go to Kaloleni, you will see some. I do not call them buildings. Some of them are structures. You know, kuna wale ambao baadhi ya watu ambao wanaishi maisha duni na ni mtu amepigania sana. Kuna wakati mimi huwa namwambia we endelea kupigana, ingawaje siasa si rahisi, especially siasa si rahisi, especially when it comes to regional politics. It's not very easy, you know, and she's trying, you know, and she's
Yeah,
one.
I think she has done well, being that in lowland there's so many views or cultural things that people always look at.
Mhm.
Being that she's a woman or a lady, and also being that she's born from, the father comes from a different culture, the mom comes from a different culture. It is somehow tough for people to, just embrace her. But if she's made these threads or steps, then it's a good thing.
Yeah,
And that shows that she's able and that she's in touch with the people. And that is what leadership is all about. And also, the good thing that I like about her is that she has her own stance and she speaks it without fear. And that's a good thing.
actually, and something about her. I'm not campaigning for her, but something I know among the people in the leadership that I come to know, because like Kisumu is like a home to me. So majority of those who are being given the mandate, especially in the county assembly, I tend to have very good connection with some of them, or connection on their contacts, talking on the daily basis. She's one of those who do not fear to come on the limelight, even to come on the uh, TV station to express herself, because she has facts. She has that. She's also somebody who is learned. Yeah, as compared to some of the members of a county assembly, when you approach them, uh, utakwambia huko TV bwana, chama wataniona na nikisema kitu ndabanduliwa kwa chama. So ni mtu ambaye mimi namheshimu sana
Yeah,
sana.
on this issue of, for example, if you invite politicians to come in for an interview, then they tell you they have to get authorization.
From yeah.
That's psychophancy to me. That's psychophancy. And any leader who comes up or, speaks in that manner
Mhm.
confirms that whatever position they have or whatever, stand that they have politically
Mhm.
is, it's something that is supported with some forces. That's what has been hailing the people of ODM. Majority of them do not have, that leeway, that freedom to speak up their mind. And that is why you're seeing a member of parliament that I used to really like how he was reasoning.
Mhm.
A member of parliament from Nyando. Yesterday or the other day, he made some remarks that really made me question myself whether this is the same guy that I've always liked his political stance.
Uh, who is the member of Nyando?
Uh, Mr. what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. Nyando MP. What is his name? Jared Okelo. Yeah, Jared Okelo.
Jared Okelo.
There's a statement that he made yesterday about their stand and the stand of the government that them as ODM members, Raila had left to AUC, and Raila has left them on the the hands of William Samoei Ruto. And he said that they're going to get stuck there until 2047, and they have no idea. They are going to have no opinion. Whatever they're told to do, whether it is going left or right, they will do. That's,
Uh,
we shouldn't expect such comments from leaders. And something else that really made me to wonder is the issue of flooding that is affecting the people of, Nyando.
mhm.
It is something that any government who came to power and really wanted to help the people, they had the capacity. The issue of dikes, it's something that had been talked about several times.
Let me tell you, the issue of the of a flooding of Nyando, that issue is an issue that was supposed to be solved long time ago, because when you look the Sondi Soit Dam is something like in those areas of S- Koru. Yeah, there was a dam that was supposed to be constructed there, and that dam could have acted as a place or as a gateway for the water to come in, and that one would control the flooding. But one thing with the political class that we usually have, especially like disasters like those, usually act as um, points for political purposes. That is the time they will buy those ungas, they will buy those blankets and buy those food. And the first thing they do when they're distributing those, they take photos and post them on the social media. You know, the main reason is by doing that, one, they use it as a campaign tool, so that people would know that you're somebody who come at the rescue of the residents of Nyando or the residents of the people who are flooded. Yet you don't look at how can I be proactive, and by being proactive, what do we need to do so that the overflow and each and every challenges that we go through during flooding can be sorted out. So one, they cannot sort it out because that is a political mileage. Yeah. Because they know they can afford to buy 10 kgs of sugar to distribute to those affected, you
It
know?
is, yeah, and
And
it is so painful
yeah.
because, you know, during the government of Kibaki, there was this lady who trended, and the one was saying, serikali saidia sisi, serikali
Yeah.
nchi imeenda na kila kitu.
Mm.
And, it is so unfortunate that from that time up to date, the people are still losing their properties, the people are still being killed by flooding.
Mhm.
Bado maji inabeba kuku, bado maji, inabeba kila kitu.
Yeah.
We have a government in place, we've got representatives, we've got constituency leader, member of parliament,
Yeah.
we've got, the something else that was just added is the issue of counties. During the government of, Kibaki, we didn't have the counties. We have, we extended a representation. We've got the MCAs,
Mhm.
and still this has not been sorted. I think
Okay. We need
we
to do
need,
something.
yeah.
Makubura, I hope you're coming in the next 30 minutes. Just confirm, please, if Barack will be available so that we can see if he can come to the show. And for everybody who has been watching us and who has been with us, thank you so much for supporting us. And may God bless you. Just to remind you about the project that we are planning to do, our first project that we are planning to do as a channel, it will be uh, rim papers. We are planning to raise almost 200 rim papers, and this one will go to some of the students, especially in the village, Migori County, where some of them cannot go to school, stay home for almost 2 weeks just because they do not have rim papers, which is a requirement. So we understand. So that is will be our first project. We will give you information if you want to partner with us. We will really, really appreciate, and we will make sure that when the project is done, we will give you all information of how we've done and the number of students who will be benefiting from that. So thank you so much. See you in the next 30 or 40 minutes. We'll be here with Makobura, Barak, and Miguda. Thank you so much, Makobura.
Thank you.